Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates post-game live after the Warriors get their 7th straight victory, their 14th in the past 16 games. Now, I think with a 97-94 victory over the New York Knicks at Chase Center on Saturday night. Before I get started on this game, I am wearing my pool party t-shirt because if you haven't seen already, Jordan Poole just hit a deep game-winning three for the Washington Wizards to beat the Nuggets in Denver, if you can believe that. So a shock upset there thanks to Jordan Poole's, not quite a buzzer beater. It was basically with half a second left. Jokic had a heave at the buzzer, missed. So well done to Jordan Poole on that one. But we are here to talk about the Warriors. Their 97-94 victory wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, and that is all the Warriors need at the moment to try and retain hold of the 6th seed in the Western Conference standings. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they just refuse to lose. The Warriors refuse to lose. So these two teams battling it out to try and get into the top 6. Of course, the Rockets also won today. The Grizzlies smashed the Heat today. So a bunch of teams in the West. I think the Lakers might be the team now, given LeBron's injury and given Luka's dealing with some stuff as well. They may be the team that's actually in most trouble here. In terms of the Warriors, at least trying to get up, perhaps into the top 5, perhaps even into home court advantage for the first round of the playoffs. But this game, certainly not a pretty one from an offensive standpoint, certainly a defensive-minded game. The Warriors it almost felt like they were in control for the majority of the game, like they led the majority of the game, had a 9-point lead in that fourth quarter, but the Knicks continued to battle back and just made it really interesting and really tight down the stretch. And the Warriors just really, as much as they to me, it felt like we were in control. They never were fluid offensively. It was never lights out. They really struggled shooting the ball. They were less than 40% from the floor, less than 32% from three-point range. Steph had a team-high 28, was hounded all night by Miles McBride, battled through that, got to 28, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Shot, I think, only was at 8 of 20 from the floor for him. So it wasn't like he was absolutely dominant kind of thing. No player really was. Like Cat was excellent for them, 29 and 12, but he also had that foul trouble in the first half that was kind of crucial, I suppose. Like the Warriors didn't get away from the Knicks in those minutes by any means. But it was Steph, and it was also Moses Moody who had 18 points, the second top scorer there for the Warriors, 7 of 14 shooting, 4 of 8 from beyond the arc. He continues his big recent form for the Warriors. He's been absolutely outstanding. Not a great game necessarily for Jimmy Butler, just 11 points, 3 of 11 shooting. Kuminga, plenty to talk about with him as well. 3 of 8 shooting, played another 20 minutes off the bench. So Kuminga and Butler combined for 21 points on 19 shots. Not great. In fairness to them, they did plenty of other things. They combined for 11 rebounds and 12 assists in this game. But certainly from a scoring standpoint, not there. And it was left to Steph and Moses. And then, Butler and Kuminga were the only other two in double figures. Not necessarily a pretty game to watch, but as I said before, doesn't really matter for the Warriors at the moment. At this point in the season, it's all about the win-loss, and they were able to get it done in this game. Congratulations to Steve Kerr as well, who passes our Adels for the franchise record, most wins by a head coach at Golden State. So absolutely congratulations to Steve. I know he gets a lot of criticism from fans. He gets criticism from me sometimes, but he is now the winningest coach in Golden State Warriors history, and that is an accolade that no one can take away from him until the next coach comes about who racks up that many regular season wins. So, congratulations to Steve. Just get into some of your comments here, guys. Priscilla says defense won us this game. And also says Wizards just beat Denver twice this season now. Yeah, that's wild. Certainly defensively, the Warriors kept the Knicks to 43% shooting from the floor, 37.5% from three-point range. Warriors took 7 more free throws, which was crucial in this game. Also only turned the ball over 9 times compared to the Knicks 13, which meant the Warriors were kind of able to even up the field goal attempt a little bit, but certainly the ability to get to the free throw line was crucial. Some of that was inclusive of obviously the late stuff where it was 2 points with just 70 seconds left. Warriors come up with a big defensive play. Draymond gets fouled by Towns, gets to go the length of the floor. Critical play there, given they were in the bonus. Draymond knocks down 2 clutch free throws, Warriors get a stop again on the other end, and then Draymond with the kind of night game-sealing layup. Kind of dribbles past Cat and gets to the rim there and did the night celebration, put the Warriors up 6 with about 25 seconds left, and Steph was left to ice it at the free throw line as he does. So a big result again for the Warriors. Jay says, don't understand why Kerr took Post out of the game in the fourth quarter when they're up by 9 and never put him back in. His defense was really good. Yeah, interesting, Steve. Clearly worried about Cat in this game and clearly concerned with Quinton Post's ability to defend him, must be said. And I think certainly Quinton Post's ability, I think what he's done in terms of being an interior presence recently has much improved. And I've been really impressed by what he's done as not a flat out legitimate rim protector, but like being a presence on the interior defensively. However, I think it's his ability to close out to 3-point shooters to switch out onto the perimeter. That's still clearly a work in progress and is probably always going to be an issue given some of the athletic limitations in that aspect. So I think Steve was clearly worried about Cat's shooting ability and QP's ability to close out to him on the perimeter, and therefore started Guy Santos over Post in this game. Of course, Pod's still out. Sounds like he might be back on Tuesday against the Bucks. But QP still played, reasonable minutes off the bench. He played just under 20 or just over 19 minutes, 19 and a half minutes. Was 2 of 4 from the floor, 5 points, hit a 3, had that nice layup in the fourth quarter as well from a Jimmy Butler feed, had 6 rebounds, couple of assists, did have a block again. So I thought he was fine in his minutes. And yeah, you're probably right in saying that he could have played more potentially in that fourth quarter. But the Warriors ended up kind of going small again, ended basically with Steph, Moses, GP2, Butler, and Draymond. So Kuminga wasn't out there either, though he kind of was at his minutes restriction anyway. He played just 20 and a half minutes, again, 3 of 8, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. A lot of good stuff from JK, potentially with his playmaking. I love the play where he kind of got the ball in transition, ran the floor. GP2 ran the floor on the other side and then threw an alley-oop to GP2. That was a highlight of the game. But certainly some other stuff where, you would have liked him to convert on some of those field goal attempts that he missed. Jay says, no way Santos should play more minutes than Post. I thought Gee was okay. He wasn't overly impactful. Played 21 minutes, 5 points, 7 rebounds. He was okay. I don't think there's too much of an issue there with him playing more than Post, but you could also, I get the argument for it as well. It's one of those things. I think Steve likes to have a little bit more versatility, particularly defensively. And again, he was clearly concerned about Post's ability to guard Cat, essentially. AES says they partied till 3 a.m. Yeah, Steph's 37th birthday, obviously, yesterday. Their next is 18-1 when Moody starts. Rockets 1, we probably won't catch. We could catch the Lakers and play the Rockets in the first round. I think that might be the best result. If we stay kind of the 6th seed and the Rockets are the 3 seed, or maybe if we catch the Lakers and the Lakers fall to 6 or 7 and we finish 5, and face either the Rockets or the Grizzlies, that might be a good result. The Nuggets are kind of looking a bit weird as well. Like, I'm not saying we're going to catch them, but they lose to the Wizards today after just beating the Lakers the other day, and the Lakers had legitimately everyone out. Like, Austin Reeves was the only guy out there, basically. He went for 37. There was no Luka. There was no LeBron, obviously, and yeah, basically the Nuggets fell over the line with a Murray 3 and then a Westbrook steal and dunk at the end. Then Nick says, my mistake, Rockets are 3-way tie for 2nd. So if we get the 5th seed, it's Memphis. I don't mind Memphis or Houston in the first round. I think that's my preference. Robbie says, I could only watch part of the game. How was JK's second game back? Certainly not as free-flowing and as efficient as what his first game was, but that was kind of the game. Like, the Knicks defense was obviously significantly better than what, Sacramento delivered the other night. And a lot of the time, JK's matched up and guarded by OG Anunoby, and OG Anunoby's a great defender, and he's, very physical. And JK was okay. He was a minus 10 in this game, which isn't great, but look, I thought he was okay. yeah, there's not really too much to take. I don't think there's too much to take from this from an individual standpoint at all, really. Like, I'm not to disappoint here, but I don't really have any hot takes based on this game. It was just one of those games where both teams struggled offensively. Defense was really on top, and Steph and Cat played well. The stars kind of played well. Jimmy wasn't good. He was the one star that didn't play well. Knicks obviously missing Jalen Brunson. Draymond, didn't do a whole lot box score wise, but I thought it was pretty impactful. And then Kuminga was okay. Moody, really good again, but this is kind of just standard Moses now. Like, he's just a really good starting caliber player. This is like Moses Moody, right? So, not too many hot takes to deliver away from this game. Just a bit of a weird one. Warriors get the win at the end of the day, and that's, again, all that matters. Empire says, I hate that when Draymond does those high passes to Jimmy, it seems so risky. Yeah, particularly when Anunoby's the defender. He tried that one in the fourth quarter, and were the Warriors like only up 2 at that point or something? And he tried that lob pass, and it wasn't even close. And Anunoby caught it basically instead of Butler. Berserk Monk says, I was kind of disappointed with that lineup that was thrown out there. Like, final 3 minutes of the third, JK Jimmy post lineup offense was stagnant. I think it's worth persisting with. I don't mind. Yeah, if you've got JK Jimmy post, and then I think Podziemski might be involved with that lineup when he comes back to offer a little bit more ball handling and playmaking, and then Buddy Hield probably out there for shooting as well. FTW Clan says, good sign that we can win a scrappy, low scoring game like this. We need to be able to win in different ways depending on playoff matchups. Yeah, the Warriors are just good on both ends of the floor, so they kind of can, and this is kind of what Jimmy Butler brings for you, I suppose. It's like the start of the season, I felt like the Warriors had to be great defensively in order to win games because they just didn't have the offensive firepower. And now they have the offensive firepower, so they can win high-scoring games. But, and they can put up big numbers as they did. They put up 130 points against the Kings in a blowout the other day. They've had a couple other games with, 120, 130 points. But they can also win a game like this where they should be one of the best defenses in the league, and they're probably still going to potentially hold their hat on that end of the floor. Like, they still might be a better defensive team than they are an offensive team. So, hopefully, this is what we see more of moving forward in terms of the kind of lockdown D that we saw in this game with, the Knicks struggling again without Brunson. That hurts them, it must be said. But particularly in that second half, fourth quarter, both teams struggled offensively, it must be said. FTW, repeating that. Jackson says, JK's free throw form looks okay, but somehow shoots it worse than Draymond. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit flat, probably. That would be the only argument. Look, I'm not a great free throw shooter in game anyway, so I can't really be giving too much advice. Look, he goes 4 of 6 in this game. It wasn't terrible, 66.7%. You'd like him to be above 70. We'll wait and see. Hopefully that improves as his career progresses. Kilobar says, Curry, GP2, Moody, Butler, Green is a good defense. Yeah, well, that's what Steve was going to late. I was surprised. I thought Kuminga might have closed over GP2 just for that offensive element. But obviously, I think Steve realized it was a defensive-minded game and kind of lent that way down the stretch. FTW Clan says, JK going to need some more time to get his rhythm back and solidify his role back in the lineup. Well, he's just going to be in a bench role for the rest of the season, kind of 6-man. And look, he was excellent on Thursday against, was it Thursday? Yes, Thursday against the Kings. And this game, look, it wasn't great, but he was still active. And I have really no concerns really about any player from. Jimmy wasn't great, and the Warriors are going to need more from Jimmy Butler. But he still had 6 rebounds, 7 assists. So still some of the passiveness is a little bit frustrating with Jimmy, but I think that will come eventually, particularly come playoff time. Empire says, JK still goes 1 for 2 at the free throw line. If he's going to go to the line, he's going to have to make them. I always say that. I've always said he has a tendency of missing the first and making the second. But yeah, his free throw shooting throughout his career hasn't been great. And you're absolutely right. Like, for a guy that gets to the free throw line as much as he does, it would be nice if he capitalize on that. Robert says, Warriors still quite comfortable winning and looks good. Has Kuminga shot a 3 yet? Didn't shoot one today and shot 1, I think, the other. Maybe he's learning from Jimmy. And saying, hey, Jimmy might have told him, mate, you're like that, athletic and that physically dominant that you don't have to settle for jumpers. And we saw his 7 made field goals the other day against the Kings. He had basically all layups and dunks, and then he had that like fade away mid-range jumper where he fell to the ground that was still inside the paint, like it was inside the free throw line. So it's going to be all around the basket for him. It still does, you got to question, I suppose, the 3-point shooting and maybe the Warriors' lack of it, particularly if a guy like Buddy Hield come playoff time is maybe removed from the rotation entirely. I suppose the one interesting facet of this game with Post not starting was the fact Looney only played 6 minutes, and that kind of goes to tell me that he's like the 11th guy. Like once Pods comes back, Looney is the 11th guy in the rotation. And I suppose if you want to remove him entirely, you probably have to start small with Draymond and then have Post as your one backup big who plays 20, 25 minutes. I don't know. We'll wait and see how it shakes out here, assuming, they can remain relatively healthy. And obviously Pod's coming back hopefully on Tuesday against the Bucks. Then Egg says, Denver's defense is a bit sketchy. Do you think we can beat them? Haven't beaten them since 2022. Yeah, what is it, like a 7 or 8 game? What's the Land of Ball Warriors v Nuggets? What's the winning streak that the Nuggets are currently on against the Warriors? It is 8. Yeah, so 7 going into this season, then that one game on December 3, the Nuggets won there by 4. And so we have, an 8-game winning streak for the Nuggets. I actually, look, they're not playing that well at the moment. I think will we be favorites? It must be. I think we should be favorites, probably. Like, I mean, you got a team that's won 14 of 16 games on their home floor. I'm not sure we should be underdogs against anyone right now. Like maybe the Cavs, maybe the Celtics, maybe the Thunder. But like we match up weirdly good with the Thunder even before the Butler trade. So I don't know. It's strange. I'd expect us to be favorites. Jackson says, should they rest Steph? He's been grabbing his back this game and the last game. Don't know. Maybe. Obviously, this back-to-back. The issue is like Minnesota just refused to lose. And so if Minnesota had just like lost 2 games, all right, in the last 6 or 7, then you could say, all right, well, now we have like a 2.5 game lead on the Timberwolves. Maybe therefore we can afford to rest Steph and Jimmy and Draymond on one of these 2 games against the Nuggets or Bucks. However, because the Timberwolves are still absolutely on your heels and you can't afford to lose a game, maybe you just got to tell Steph and the rest of the guys, hey, like we're going to need you to play. Just a tweet from Slater. Draymond giving some kudos to Cat in the post game. Ghost says, I remember a couple of months ago, people were debating Moses being an NBA caliber player and fans asking to trade him. And I'm so happy we didn't for him or any of the young guys. And now everyone can see what I see. Yeah, he's been fantastic. Just a legitimate starting caliber player. We'll see what happens here. Because, I mean, if you're gonna pay Kuminga, right? If you're gonna pay Jonathan Kuminga big money, like $30 million in free agency, then he's going to have to be a starter next season. He's going to have to be. And I therefore wonder, what does the starting lineup look like next season? Like, I think I appreciate at this point that it's probably going to be Steph, Pods, Moody, Jimmy, Draymond, and then maybe you could have Post in there for Pods if you have to go big. But if you're going to pay Kuminga big money, you'd want him to be a starter. And I do wonder what that means for next season. Like, you certainly don't think you could take Moody out of his starting role. Do we have to go back to the conversation about whether Draymond comes off the bench? I don't know. You're still paying him $25 million a year. So it's a bit of the Warriors are still, playing. Well, they're still in a strange situation, I think, when it comes to their starting lineup in the long term. But in the short term, this is currently working so well, and they've won 14 of their last 16. So it's not really a concern for right now. It's more a conversation for down the track. Empire says, I feel like the Warriors weren't giving Moody the ball enough in the fourth. I mean, he took 14 shots. He was took the second most shots on the team. You could have rode the hot hand a little bit more, but I still don't think Moses is that, all right, but he's a bailout option at the end of the shot clock, or he's a guy that you want to give the ball to and say, go make a play. Like he did that. Was it 2.5 minutes to go where he made that layup on Bridges? That was a nice move. Okay, I'll give him credit on that one. But aside from that, he's a guy that is still like he's a high end role player. Like he's essentially Wiggins. Really, like he's kind of taken Wiggins' role as that 3-and-D guy who can occasionally get his own bucket, but occasionally, and Wiggins was probably better at that than what Moody is at this point of his career. But he's that high-end 3-and-D role player. And the thing about Moody is like right now he went 4 of 8 from 3. The ones he missed felt like they were kind of off the dribble, off balance threes. The ones he made, like if he's wide open in the corner, and I feel like Jimmy often finds him wide open in the corner, and if he is wide open, man, I feel confident. He's knocking that down. When was the last time he missed a wide open corner 3? That thing is cash every time. When he sets his feet, it's a bucket, right? And so he's been super efficient from 3, and it's fantastic to see. Dublin says Warriors need Loon for rebounding in the clutch. Loon is the rebounding man. Well, you just can't have him. I mean, he did come out, obviously, for that free throw very briefly when Anunoby went to the line in the final 25 seconds there. But aside from that, like you can't end games with him and Draymond on the floor at the same time. So I still think the Warriors' best closing lineup might be Steph, Moses, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond. And I'm sure we'll see that a little bit more moving forward. I'm going to finish it up there, guys, because I think I want to go back and watch some footy. It's obviously the first round, or technically the second round of the footy. I mean, Australian fans, you know what it is, but the AFL's got this weird thing where we have a round 0, and there was 2 games last week for round 0. 2 were cancelled because of the cyclone in Queensland, and now we're at round 1, but it's the second weekend. It's so bizarre. Good weekend for me. Warriors win today, and my footy team, Collingwood, we bounced back from our disastrous loss last Sunday. Had a 91-point victory last night, which was fantastic to watch. That's a huge blowout. That's if you go by my kind of NBA AFL calculations, that's the equivalent of winning by about 40, 45 points in the NBA. So that was a fun watch last night, that's for sure. And good to see the Warriors get a win today to back that up. So a good weekend all around. FTW Clan says, yeah, when Moody has time to set his feet and get that dip in his shot for rhythm, it's almost always cash. Yep. Dublin says it's simple. Is JK more valuable than Dre? If not, how can the Warriors pay JK more than Dre's $25 million salary? Is JK more valuable than Moody's $13 million? So you got to pay him on talent. Like part of this is talent, and part of this is envisaging in 2 years' time. Like, is Draymond a more valuable player than Kuminga right now? Yes, but is Draymond going to be a more valuable player than Kuminga in 2 years' time? You'd hope not, for the Warriors' sake. Like, you'd hope Kuminga takes that step where he's a better player than Draymond. So that's not really, I get what you're saying, but it's not really how it works. Is JK more valuable than Moody? I think he is. Like, for the Warriors right now, Moody's a starting caliber player. You might say that Moody is a more valuable player, but part of this is like what is attractive around the league, and so many more teams. Like, Kuminga still projects as a legitimate star player, potentially, as Moody is kind of like I think he's a high-end role player. Like, he's this high-end 3-and-D. Is Moses Moody ever going to be an all-star in his career? I don't think so. Right. And therefore, Kuminga is still a more valuable asset to, around the league than Moody is. Like, if you ask teams, who would you rather right now? I think most teams are taking Jonathan Kuminga. Now, if Kuminga is getting paid $30 million, then teams might actually prefer Moody on, less than $13 million a season. I understand that. But comparing those two in terms of what they're going to get, what Moody's got compared to what Kuminga's going to get, I don't think that's necessarily right, because we know Kuminga is going to get a big payday from somewhere just because of the potential alone. And again, the Warriors are going to have to pay him more than probably what they're paying Draymond, again, based on that potential. Jackson said Poole got paid more than Dre, and I think Dre is more valuable than Poole. Good point. Then next says Lacob said he doesn't mind going over the cap. Yeah, I think if the Warriors look like this core, and what I mean the core is like, you're going to have Steph, Draymond, Jimmy, JK, and then even you could almost throw Moody into that, given he's going to be paying, over $12 million a year. So to me, as long as that core looks like they are a deep playoff contender, then I think Lakers going to be fine paying it. The issue is going to be if you get knocked out easily in the first round of the playoffs, then we're going to have to start having, Joe and the front office are going to have some question marks on, how much are we willing to pay on this team if in reality they're a first round playoff exit. Right. So that's why the rest of this season is important. And that's why I said the other day, when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga and his wish to get paid, like, it really comes down to how the team goes. Because if the team goes well, then Joe's going to be more willing to pay him the big bucks. It's not really about how JK goes individually and what his individual numbers are. It's about how he contributes to a winning team and how far this team can go in the playoffs. Streetcar says, "You're great at this, bro. Best Warriors podcast." Appreciate that for sure. Thank you very much to all of you that have tuned in and commented. Thanks to those of you that are watching on replay or listening via the podcast feed. I'll go watch some footy this afternoon, do some more writing for bluemanhoop.com. You can see, or you can read more of my coverage there tomorrow morning Pacific time. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. Follow me at POK252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter. Warriors play the Nuggets on Monday, Bucks Tuesday back-to-back. That is going to be their biggest test for a while, but fortunately, they're now 4-0 on this homestand. So they've given themselves a little bit of leeway, but in saying that, of course, as I said before, the Timberwolves are certainly on their back and not going away. I'll be back for post-game lives after both of those games, so looking forward to that. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend.